Hello, friends. Andrea here with Nutrition Commission. So today's topic is, again, the many scars of disease. And this is, in fact, the last week of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So I wanted to spend a little bit of time kind of addressing a topic that is actually quite I don't even know what the word is, painful for me as well, and something that even 5 years out, I'm still dealing with my own trauma from the experience. So I want to just spend time addressing some of the common themes of chronic illness that creates this emotional, mental, and even physical scars that not only is hard for the person that is enduring it, but also for the family members and loved ones that don't understand it. They understand that you could be sad and emotional and physically exhausted, but I think there's oftentimes a lack of understanding that some of these scars take more than a couple months to get over, and that's where I'm hoping that this discussion today, whether it's for you or maybe to even share with some loved ones that might not understand the validity of some of your symptoms personally. So again, I went through breast cancer in 2015 into 2016, and I was 30 weeks pregnant when I was diagnosed. My experience, and I'm going to try my best not to get emotional, guys, but even as I prepared to talk today, I started getting emotional again. So I'm talking about scars that run really, really deep. We show up with a nice mask, right, and smile, everything's great, great, great. But if you go a couple layers down deep, it's challenging, okay? But I'm going to give you some, maybe some, I hate to use the word tips in this conversation, but I'll give you some ground rules almost for maybe how to get yourself back on the right track, or again, helping to communicate to loved ones what it is you need to get into the next phase of your healing. So again, thank you all for joining today. I hope I don't always intend these to be such a Debbie Downers, but this stuff is real, it's raw. So if you've been diagnosed with a chronic disease, you've been enduring harsh medical treatments, right? Or you've gone through surgery, you've been cut up, you've been cut open. There's so many layers to this. When you think about, let's just talk about breast cancer, okay, specifically. If you look at that experience itself, what are we talking about? Okay, we're talking about the crisis of a life-threatening disease. Boom. Am I going to live or die? Okay, so that piece is an emotional trauma for the individual, of course, and also the family members that are now also, this bomb has just landed, and now we're like, shit, well, now what? Now, am I even going to make it? So I'm not going to address that per se, but when we start getting into the trauma of the medical treatments, we're talking about toxic poisons that are put into our body, right? I didn't know personally that I should have gotten a port. Okay, so I don't know if you yourself have a cancer experience, but my number one advice now is always get a port. But I didn't know it, and I have a lot of trauma, emotional, mental trauma, because in the experience of being poisoned with toxic chemicals, no matter, I was pregnant even for the first 3 rounds, but the pain is so intense from any of these treatments, or even just from hardcore medical, chemo pills even. The side effects and the treatments themselves are extremely painful, okay? Extremely painful, to the point where once you're going through it, you almost develop literally the same experience as a PTSD experience, post-traumatic stress disorder, because the fear and anxiety at least in my case, with having to go get chemo and every time having to do an IV. And if you don't know why I'm emphasizing this, is because every time they try to find a vein, the chemicals that are already circulating in your veins are so acidic and poisonous and literally destroying everything in your body that putting a needle and trying to do an IV is extremely painful. Probably more painful than, well, right up there with my biopsy, which was excruciating pain because it hit a nerve. So you have that experience of PTSD, no joke. Okay, so then you go into the surgeries, which I want to make sure we can address this one too. The emotional aspect of, wow, I'm about ready to lose a body part. For some women, we don't know if reconstructive surgery is the right thing for us. There's a lot of internal discussion around, do I really want to put more, fake boobs in? If I decide to go flat, bare-chested, do I lose my femininity? I mean, there's a lot of emotional turmoil around that next stage of the journey. Personally, I didn't find it fun to go through chemo. Obviously, no one finds it fun, but the chemo also pushes you into chemo-induced menopause. So as a young woman, which there are more and more young women, unfortunately, being diagnosed, we're also now thrown into menopause, where the loss of being able to have children comes into play. Thankfully, I was pregnant, blessing in disguise in a way, where I could still save my pregnancy. And then you go into surgery, and now you're getting body parts cut off. And it's like you're being, again, part of this wartime mentality. You're now having body parts removed, like you've been to war and you have to amputate something. Okay, this is a little bit deep and morbid. I'm so sorry, but it's real and it's raw. And this is why people have to understand, when you've gone through all of this wartime experience, there's immense PTSD that has to be resolved and healed, because if we keep that trapped energy, we can actually keep ourselves sick. So I want to shed light on this, guys, and I know it's really hard, but hang in there with me. Sorry, So you go through the surgeries, and it's an 8-hour surgery. It's an 8-hour surgery for a mastectomy. It takes up to 4 to 6 weeks to get mobility of your arms. It's pretty intense, okay? So then there's that grieving process. There's that recovery process in and of itself, because your body has also gone, again, under anesthesia. You're under immense antibiotics. You probably don't have an appetite. You've destroyed your gut health. And that is, of course, the gateway also to a strong immune system. So there's the next, bomb. Then you go into the next phase, which is your radiation treatments. Okay. And those can be very painful, because you're obviously putting radiation onto the spot, and then your skin is extremely raw. And I won't go into the details about that experience. When you come out of that, boom, 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 most cancer patients can relate to the experience that I've literally attested to as well. I said, it is like you've gone to war. I don't want to trivialize those that go to war literally to fight for us and our freedoms and all that. But when you think about what has just happened, you've been poisoned, okay? You've had body parts removed. They've been, amputated. You've been mutilated, whatever gory word you want to use, okay? And you heal from that. You have just exploded your own immune system, which is basically at nothing at this point, okay? And then you go into radiation. Now, the radiation piece, guys, is often people don't understand this. And I've been part of a couple different breast cancer groups and talked to clients as well. I know most don't understand what happened to my energy. What, I go, guys, your radiation, that kind of punctuation at the end of the sentence there, the big grand finale, will keep you in chronic fatigue for up to 2 years. 2 years, okay? So when you think, I just can't get my energy back, I just don't know what's going on, please give yourself grace and patience, because it literally will take you up to 2 years to get somewhat of your old resemblance of energy. Okay? So we have many layers here, all right? And I really, really want to encourage people. Again, if you are going through cancer yourself or a loved one, okay? I want to give you some ideas of what you can do to be there, or to not only help yourself, but also to help inform some of the family members, because again, we can't lead them down the path, okay? They have to hopefully get their own support and research themselves on kind of what to expect. But there's a couple of things that I really want to highly, highly encourage you to do. Number one, for you as a patient going through a chronic treatment plan, breast cancer or something other than that is very traumatic to you, definitely we have to get support. Okay, we have to get support, and we have to ask for support. This is where we really have to find a way to find our voice, essentially. Find our voice. For most women, we're the matriarchs of the family. Okay, so when Mama goes down, or when, you know, Auntie Jane goes down, you can see immediately that the family dynamic changes, and it kind of, everybody's just in that same crisis mode as the patient. So we need to wrap our head around, what does that really mean? That means Mom, or again, Aunt Jane, or Sister Susie. That person needs everyone to rally around them and cook their dinners, take them to their doctor appointments, obviously, shower them with small little gifts. I tell you what, I had one woman who unexpectedly was sending me gifts like she was my mom. Blankets, candles, little tchotchkes, you know, here and there, but it made a huge, it meant the world to me, and having those little symbolism of love goes a long way with supporting someone going through breast cancer or another, again, chronic disease, and they're in the throes of this crisis and trauma. So that's number one. We got to get a support network immediately, and, you know, people need to, you know, rally around that person and make sure they're well fed, make sure they get some fresh air every day, no joke, and just give them the space to rest. Let them know that, you know, we've got this, basically, because a woman finds it very difficult to relinquish household duties, care for her family. That's just, unfortunately, that's almost like programmed in our brain. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, definitely gratitude and journaling, because when I went through all my treatments really fast, boom, 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 but I did it deliberately because I didn't want my son, who might have been 6 months at the time when I finished, I didn't want him to have any memory of it. But I remember I would look in the mirror, and I've said this repeatedly over the last 4 years, that I couldn't look at myself. I couldn't look at myself in the mirror, guys, because I didn't like the cancer face staring back at me. So you see me here with hair, right? Got my eyelashes, my eyebrows back. Mind you, I'm chemo hair now, or menopause hair. But I had long black flowy hair. I had, you know, longest eyelashes imaginable, you know, natural. And just this youthful experience, a youthful face. I had cheekbones. And so as I saw, you know, the next phase of every treatment that happened, how I had no eyebrows, I had nothing, I was so traumatized. I was like, this woman is looking back at me. I don't know who that is, and it's ugly. And I had a real, I'm going to get emotional, sorry. I'll try to get it together. But it was very traumatic. It's very traumatic. And the only way I got through it, guys, was the acceptance of, you know, I survived. Thank you, guys. I knew this was going to be hard, but I made it. And I started to go within, and I did that through a lot of prayer and a lot of gratitude journaling, because if I woulda, coulda, shoulda, when I started to think about if I didn't speak up, if I never found it, I wouldn't be here today, guys. I wouldn't be here today, possibly, right? So gratitude journaling, let me get myself together. Gratitude journaling, hugely, hugely needed for your recovery. But then the third one is probably the most important thing that I could have done, not in hindsight, not knowing that that's what I was after. But I realized I'd been through war, period. And that's why I called my program literally Wartime Toolkit, because it was a shit show of war, you know, literally. And I decided to get not just a normal counselor, because I was always seeing a counselor. As soon as I got diagnosed with cancer, I knew that I should get some help right away, you know, because it was too much for everybody else around me, let alone me to process. So I got a counselor, but then I realized quickly about a year into it, this isn't progressing me to where I want to get. So here's the difference. I found a trauma and grief counselor. Okay, trauma and grief counselors, and they work on resolving that traumatic energy that's trapped in our body, which keeps us sick. So you just have to do a little bit of digging to find those folks, but once you get the right counselor, then you have kind of the energy that can be removed out of your body, and they can actually help you work on the grief, because there's a lot of grief. There's a lot of grief that goes in any illness, period, because you've lost your old self. You've lost your old life. You've lost that ignorance, you know, that ignorant bliss. And it really is like, gosh, I didn't have to worry about anything back then, you know. And we want to move ourselves out of fear. We want to move ourselves out of fear. I was trapped in a fear mode for 2 years. Every food I ate, I thought, okay, if I ate sugar, I'm not joking, I thought I was going to create stage 4 cancer because I knew sugar fed cancer. So there's a lot of trauma work in a disease. And don't run from it. Don't deny that it's there, because it is, and that's totally normal. First of all, it's totally normal. And again, I'm 5 years out. I'm still working on my trauma, okay? And those are a lot of ghosts in closets that, you know, go deeper and deeper as we see the kind of how our life unfolds. And like, oh yeah, that's still my trauma from cancer. You know what I mean? So we're all human beings. But I really appreciate you guys showing up today. Like I said, my intention was not to make this an Andrea cry fest, but it's important to address the mental, emotional, and physical scars of breast cancer. Obviously, we are wrapping up Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and I just want to hopefully give you encouragement, not to, again, make this completely sad, but there is absolute hope. So if you have a family, again, if you or a family member is going through cancer, please encourage them, tag them on the video, send it to them or whatever, so that the family members can understand too, and the individual, what to expect. It will take you time to heal, and that is more than normal. Okay, it is more than normal. So I hope my message resonates with you today. I appreciate so much that you guys showed up. And if you, again, have any questions whatsoever, I'd love to hear from you in the comment box. And as usual, I will see you all next week, where we will be changing into the theme of all things blood sugar and inflammation. So until next time, all my best to you, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.